This woman won't even return my calls.
They return mine.
So yes, she's gonna return your calls because she represents the woman in the house that you're squatting in.
I'm squatting.
You were a squatter.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl, the Brooke Ashley, and today we are here to discuss The Real Housewives of Orange County, Season 18, Episode 3. And before we get into it, please get comfortable, grab a snack, grab something to drink because you're probably going to be here for a while. When I tell y'all I have so much to say, if you're new here, hi, how you doing? Welcome. I'm glad to have you. And know that Orange County is one of my favorite franchises of all time. I have always felt like they are highly underrated. These girls continue to give what the other girls were supposed to have gave, in the words of the iconic Rolling Ray. Now, first of all, Gina was in one too many scenes for me. I said, no ma'am, I do not want to see Miss Gina on my screen for more than a minute. It was a very Gina-dominated episode, and no thank you, I'll pass. Miss Emily, I'm going to whack you a few good times. I don't like you. I've never liked your attitude, the constant shade in the confessionals, especially towards Jen. It feels like you have some vendetta against her, and I want to understand why. I don't know if you're trying to be funny, but it's not landing. The reads are flopping, and you look desperate. But I've always thought that you were thirsty from jump, so here we are. Now, Miss Alexis, I just don't understand why they brought you back. You're bringing nothing, and this whole let's antagonize and gaslight Shannon Bedore is not going to work over here. But y'all, without further ado, let's just jump right on into it because you guys already know that we don't have a minute to spare. So we open up this episode with a continuation of what happened last week when Gina and Jenn met up at the coffee shop and Gina tried to embarrass Jenn in front of everybody. So Gina's in her car and she says, I just can't believe this girl. I don't have time for this BS. And as she drives off, she calls up her goofy sidekick Emily and she's like, hey girl, you won't believe what just happened. I just left the coffee shop with Jenn and I'm in utter shock right now with the way this girl is handling this whole situation. So I said, let me just stop you right now because Gina, how dare you talk about you can't believe how Jenn is handling this? You were screaming for everybody to hear about how she's broke, not paying her bills, and how she's facing eviction. The baristas heard you, the waiters and waitresses heard you, the other patrons in the coffee shop heard you, but you want to say you're in utter shock with how Jenn is handling things? The way you're handling things is beyond immature, it's petty, it's messy, and it's just rude. And what really irks me about Gina is she does not know how to argue. Gina's definition of arguing with somebody is talking over them and then storming off. And Gina, you're a walking read, so for you to think that you're reading somebody for filth is a joke. Sis, you've been broke since you came on this show. Now that you have a few nickels to rub together, you want to act like you're somebody? I would have read Gina for filth. Now, I understand that you feel like Jenn should have called you. Okay, I'll give you that. But for you to carry on like this is abysmal and it's disgusting. Also, I would never hire you as my realtor, seeing as how you're carrying on trying to embarrass one of your clients, because you could say what you want. Jenn is a client of yours, and the fact that you're treating her so poorly says a lot. And the funniest part throughout this episode for me was how Gina really thought that she ate when it came to tearing Jenn down. And now she's sitting up here backpedaling, saying, oh yeah, you know, I could have handled that a bit better because the fans have ate you up. So Gina's still on the phone with Emily, and she's like, you know what she said to me, Emily? She said that me of all people should understand her situation. And it's like, I sympathize with that, but I'm not the one waiting for a check from my ex. And I said, well, the reason for that is because your ex doesn't have anything. Because remember when you guys divorced and then that whole situation happened where he was arrested, he lost his job. So he doesn't have that money anymore. You're probably sending him money. So yeah, you really can't depend on any man in your life to give you anything. And that's the real reason why I feel like Gina is so salty, because the constant jabs about how Jenn needs to stand up on her own 2 feet and stop depending on men. And I understand that as a woman, it is important to have your own money, but there's also nothing wrong with having a man who's able to pay bills and provide. And I feel like Gina is just upset because in her situation with Travis, she's the one being the breadwinner. She's the one carrying everybody on her back. She's the one with a man at home who depends on her. So Gina goes on to tell her sob story of how when she was going through her divorce, she had to downsize, and that's what you have to do. You have to make sacrifices. And I just said, again, Gina, I get that, but there's a way to go about talking to people, and the way you're treating Jen right now is trash. I already told you guys that when it comes to Miss Gina, I'm going to whack her every chance I get.
I'm gonna just scoot on over and let you whack him. Get him again. Get him for me.
This is a no Gina zone. And what really pisses me off about this whole situation is how Gina's trying to paint it like Jen did this on purpose. Jen does not strike me as a Sheree Whitfield type where she would purposely try to not pay her bills or cheat somebody. I think that obviously Jen would like to pay her bills if she had the money. But if you don't have the money at the moment, what else can you do? And for folks who are like, oh, well, get a job, get a job. I mean, I get that. But if she has limited skills, if she hasn't been in the workforce ever, it's going to be a bit hard. So let's not play dense about, oh, well, I don't understand why she can't go get a job. We hear all the time how women who were stay-at-home moms for a long time were unable to get a job after, or a high-paying job, because they had been out of the workforce for a long time. So it's easier said than done. And again, Jen does not strike me as a Kim Zolciak or Sheree Whitfield where she's purposely trying to cheat somebody out of money. So you have Emily talking about she needs to move away from the ding dong. And then she says, you know what? Let them live in ding dong land. I think she was talking about Jen and Ryan. But either way, it just sounds so hateful. I don't understand what Emily's beef with Jen is. It just feels like Emily always wants to hop on the bandwagon to hate somebody each season. As long as she's able to deflect from her boring and non-storyline having ass, then she's going to always pile on somebody else. So now Gina's like, well, I'm home now. I'll see you tomorrow for your flag football event. And then she makes a joke saying how she's going to show up in full glam. So before they hang up, Emily says full glam, full extensions, Malibu broke Barbie, and they both start laughing. And I said, really, Emily? Now, Emily, let me just get you together. And I'm going to get you together several times in this recap because you really pissed me off at your football event when you tried to go at it with Jen. But anyhow, I digress. So, Emily, what would you have if you didn't marry Shane? Because let's refresh our memories, shall we? When you first joined the show, you told us that Shane's family is extremely wealthy. We've seen the money because Shane's parents have a gorgeous house in Orange County. And you said that Shane and you all were living off of the family's money. So for you to get on your high horse and try to throw shade at Jen, who is clearly struggling, is really sick to me. And may I just add one more thing, please? I'm so tired of this mindset that just because you're going through a financial struggle that you have to look like what you're going through. One thing that both of my grandmothers always stress, even my parents, that it doesn't matter if you have $1 in your pocket, $1,000, $10,000, $1 million, you always look good, period. Because looking good can still open up opportunities, and just because you're going through a financial hardship does not mean that you let stuff go. Also, if you bought designer pieces when you had the money, you're still going to have those pieces when you don't have the money. So it's not like your stuff is going to turn into tatters and rags because you're broke now. You're still going to have your pieces, so it's still going to look like you do have money, even if money is a bit low right now. So for them to try and demonize Jen like she's in the wrong for still looking good because she doesn't look broke and destitute, then they feel like that's a slight to them? No. I think that that goes for anybody. I don't care if you have 50 cents in your pocket. When you step out your house, you better look like you have $1 million. Nobody should know anything. Some people are good at still making it look like everything is great, even if things are a bit rocky. So how dare y'all feel entitled to Jen looking bad because you believe that that's what she should look like because she doesn't have the money anymore. And Gina, let's really get into it. You're really upset because you still look a fool whether you're broke or you have $10 in your pocket. That's the gag, because that outfit that you had on at the coffee shop to meet up with Jen in the first place, that outfit was a fool. So since your money's up now, sis, I expect for the style to elevate. When I told y'all to sit tight and grab a snack and get comfortable, I meant it, because I have so much to say, y'all. I'm just super hyped today. But we do flip back to Jen. She's still in the coffee shop, and she's obviously upset about what just went down. And she calls up Shannon and she says, "Hey Shannon, can I vent for a minute? Me and Gina just had a conversation. She just stormed out. She pretty much ripped me a new asshole about this whole entire thing. She's acting like I purposely don't want to pay my bills." So now Shannon says, "Oh my gosh, I'm sorry to hear that. I was in that same position when I was going through my divorce." And then she says, "But I do understand where Gina's coming from because she did vouch for you." So we find out from Jen that she still has not received a judgment. The divorce still isn't finalized. And on top of that, she is not even receiving temporary support. So she's all messed up. So now it's the day of Emily's flag football event, and we see all the women getting ready, and we see a short clip of Tamra. She's like, "Oh, I just really can't wait to see what stupid costume Shannon shows up in. She's going to be all like this, all frazzled." And I said, it's so funny to me, sis, because the way you were talking about you don't like Shannon, Shannon is a horrible person, you sure do have Shannon on your mind. Shannon lives in your head 24/7. She lives in your head rent-free. Because my God, I don't understand why you're so pressed to make fun of Shannon. The same way you have a jersey on, is that not a costume? So I'm confused why you're saying, "Oh, I can't wait to see what dumb costume Shannon shows up in." Like, girl, what's wrong with you? Say what you want. Shannon is that girl of this franchise, and the way these women cannot keep her name out of their mouths, because every time they're in a scene that does not involve Shannon, who are they talking about? I'll wait. So now we see Emily arrive at the beach. She's setting up with one of her friends. And now we see all the other ladies arriving one by one. So we see Gina and Katie arrive. Then we see Heather arrive. And we find out that Heather is going to be the referee. Because one thing about Miss Heather, Heather does not get her hands dirty. So now Jen arrives. And now we see Alexis Bellino. I just said, oh my gosh, please get Alexis off my screen. And is it just me? And I was going to say this in the premiere recap, but I decided not to. But I just have to ask y'all, is it just me, or does it seem like Alexis got too much work done on her face? Maybe the Botox and the fillers haven't settled quite right, but something about her face looks very hard. I know I can't be the only one thinking it. But anyhow, Jen is a bit nervous because Gina's there. She wants to avoid Gina because she's pissed off at what happened. And I said, "Jen, pay Gina dust. I would not look her way. I would not talk to her. I would ignore her, because you do not get to humiliate me, embarrass me in public, and then think that I'm about to sit up there and be nice to you when I see you at the next function. Absolutely not." So Shannon arrives and she's in costume. She has this homemade jersey on, a headband. Pretty much she was ready for flag football. So you see Alexis saying anything to be different, and then Tamra says, "Shocker." Now I said, Alexis, you claim that you don't care about Shannon, but you're obviously bothered. Because why do you care that Shannon is in costume? You guys are here to play flag football. It's like a costumey event. So what's the issue? And the funniest part about this is Shannon can't win. Because had Shannon showed up in some slacks and a work blouse, y'all would have been saying, "Oh, Shannon couldn't even come in dressed up with a jersey on." So again, shut up. So now we see them split up in two teams. It's Team Emily and Team Tamra. Emily's team has Shannon and Gina and other friends that we don't know. And then Tamra's team is Katie, Jen, Alexis, and other friends that we don't know. And remember, Heather is the referee. So now you have Tamra saying that she picked the cute girls and how it's a hot girl team. I said, are you trying to shade Miss Shannon Bedore? Is that what that is? Because I caught that slight shade. Girl, you can say what you want, but Miss Shannon, the way she has been eating these looks, so again, sis, not too much. So now we see both teams at separate tables, and they're coming up with team names. Emily says, let's be the Destroyers, and Tamra's team is Team Love. I said, girl, what? Some stuff you just have to laugh at. Now remember, Katie is on Tamra's team, and because she's the newest housewife, all the ladies are trying to get to know her. So you have Tamra asking her questions. She's like, oh, how do you like living in Orange County? And Katie says, oh, I love it. I love living in Newport Beach. So she tells the ladies how she moved from San Diego and how she has 4 kids. Now the way everybody is so nosy, Heather jumps in and she's like, oh, you have 4 kids? Are they all from the same man? And Katie says, no, I only share 1 kid with my new husband. And I'm not going to hold you. Katie's whole situation is very confusing. When she was saying in the last episode about how she had her daughter at 20, and then she has the 2 boys from, I guess, the previous marriage to her ex-husband, the 17-year-old and the 14-year-old. But the 14-year-old lives in Atlanta with her ex, and then the 17-year-old lives in San Francisco. Does she have an ex-husband and 2 other baby daddies? Like, I'm confused. But Katie, please clarify that for us at the reunion, because I'm like, wait, what? We need a Venn diagram. So now the conversation gets serious because Jen interjects and she says, Katie, may I ask you, have you spoken to Gina at all? And Katie says, no, I haven't. Is everything okay? Now I said, Katie, why are you lying? Because you, Gina, and Emily went out for lunch in last week's episode and Gina was going on and on about the whole situation with Jen. So why are you talking about, oh, I don't know what's going on. I haven't talked to her. You were just talking to her on the beach with some tequila shots and some margaritas a few days ago. But I guess Katie's like, I don't want to be involved in the mess, so let me just say I haven't talked to her. So Jen explains the whole situation of how Gina was her realtor, she got her a house, and unfortunately, the rent has not been paid. It's been a whole mess. And how Gina was upset with her. They went out for coffee the other day, and Gina blasted her saying, you don't pay your bills, you need to get your act together, and she was hurt by that. So now you have Alexis jumping in, and she's like, she said that to you? Oh my gosh, that's so horrible. So now Tamra jumps in and she says, I understand both sides of the situation because Gina is a new realtor and she is worried about her reputation, so I get it. And now we jump over to Emily's team, and remember, Shannon and Gina are both on her team, and they're at the table just gossiping and talking. And now Shannon whispers about Alexis. She's like, the other day at that lunch, did Alexis talk about her and John's sex life? And Gina and Emily say, yeah, she was talking about they have sex 4 times a day. And Shannon's like, what? So now Shannon's confessional shade had me screaming. She says, let's do the math here, because John is 62 years old and sex 4 times a day, what pill is he taking? So Shannon shows her disgust hearing that. You have Emily joking around about how she would die if she had to have sex 4 times a day. And I said, do you and Shane have sex at all? Because when I look at you two, I don't see any chemistry. I don't see any attraction. I've said this multiple times. Let me stop it. When I tell you that Emily grates on my nerves, so it's easy for me to just go in. But Alexis, it's embarrassing that you're behaving like this is your first boyfriend. So now we find out some more drama. Shannon spills some tea about how she introduced John to her trainer, Steven. And now John and Alexis are going to Shannon's gym. So she's like, guess who was at my gym a half hour before I got there the other day? Alexis. And Shannon's like, stay away from my gym. Like, what are you doing? And I'm sorry, this might be petty, but I agree with Shannon. All these gyms in Orange County, and you have to go to the same gym that I go to, the one that I introduced you to. Like, we've broken up, find somewhere else to go. And it's clear that Alexis and John just want to get under Shannon's skin by doing this. It's weirdo behavior. And I'm sorry, but this is why it's okay to gatekeep at certain times. Have some stuff for yourself, because people do this stuff, especially if you guys fall out and are no longer lovers or friends. People like to do that. So always keep a few places for yourself Everybody does not need to know your favorite spot. Like, no. It's okay to have some stuff that's just for you, because people like to play these stupid games. And I can do a whole video on that. That's why I tell y'all to move in silence. You don't have to tell everything. So now everybody gets up to head to the beach to start playing football. And we see Gina and Alexis off to the side, and they're talking about Shannon being pissed about Alexis and John now being at her gym. So Alexis says, oh, please, she hasn't been to that gym in 6 months. And I said, girl, at the end of the day, why do you want to go to the same gym that your man's ex goes to? It's just weird behavior. Find another gym. So they finally start playing, and I have to say, it looked like they were all having fun. And we see that Emily's team wins, and they're all walking back to eat something, have another drink. And we see Alexis leave early because she has to go to her son's formal. So all the ladies at this point are at the table. They're eating some pizza, drinking some margaritas. And Shannon starts it off by saying that she wants Jenn and Gina to have a conversation because they need to get some stuff off their chest and work this all out. And if I were Jenn, I would have said, now, Shannon, I appreciate that, but I'm not going to have this conversation with Gina in front of all of you guys, because we know that Miss Gina likes to show out when she has a crowd. And that's exactly what she did in this argument. So Gina started off all wrong. She's like, well, obviously, I'm not happy with how that conversation ended at the coffee shop. And I said, well, obviously, girl, because that was all your fault. You're the one who yelled at her and then stormed out and didn't even let her get a word in. Jenn agrees and says that she wasn't happy about how things ended when they were at the coffee shop. And then she goes on to say how she expected Gina to be more sympathetic since Gina knows what it's like to be in her situation. Now, Jenn, when you said that, I already knew that that was going to set Miss Gina off, because the way Gina is trying to rewrite history and scrub our memories of her being the broke one. So Jenn is trying to calm Gina down because she can already tell that Gina is about to go off the rails yet again. So she's like, Gina, I think that you misunderstand. I still don't have a judgment yet. And in the 3 years of my separation, I never once questioned how the rent was getting paid. And one thing I cannot stand about Gina, Gina does not let you get a word in. So she interrupts Jenn and she's like, no, I am sympathetic, but you signed a contract and you have bills to pay. So Jenn's like, girl, I'm more aware of that than anybody else. Like, I know that I have bills to pay, sis. Obviously, I would pay them if I had the money, but I don't right now. So, of course, Gina wants a show. She's giving us full-blown theatrics. She says, no, you burnt me bad, Jenn. I said, oh my gosh, Gina, shut up. Shut the hell up. We get it. You lost 50 grand. You lost out on a deal. You're upset. We understand that. But for you to act like Jenn purposely tried to screw you over and now you want to berate her and talk to her like she's a dummy, absolutely not. I understand that you're upset, but there's a way that you go about things. This is not it. Trying to purposely embarrass somebody is not right. And you think that you would have more grace for somebody when you've been in this boat time and time again. Let's not forget how Miss Shannon paid for that lawyer for you when you got that DUI. You've gotten help, sis. So again, you would think that somebody who's been in that boat for a long time would just have a lot more compassion and would try to help out. It's so sad how you want to punch down because you feel like you finally arrived, even though you haven't arrived anywhere. How dare you? And you're still trying to embarrass her again. I was so livid. I said, Jenn, if you don't get up and leave, I would say, you know what, I'm not going to do this. Because one thing about me, I don't take too kindly to somebody trying to embarrass me. If I ever feel like you're trying to embarrass me, I will be out so fast and we will never speak again. Gina, you want attention so badly that you're going to sit up here and show your ass and try to make her feel bad. She already feels bad enough. She has 5 children, no money, a yoga studio that's not doing well. How do you think she feels? Like, let's really put our brains together. So now Gina's going on this long rant about how she put somebody in this home who didn't pay her bills. Then she says, I had a great relationship with that agent and now she won't even return my calls. So Jenn says, well, she returns my calls, and now Gina thought that she really ate with this one. She says, well, that's because she's representing the person whose house you're squatting in. I said, really? You're gonna call her a squatter now? Now, if Jenn had cursed you out, it would have been well-deserved, because how dare you? And even Jenn said, I'm a squatter? Are you serious? And now you have Emily, who's also just as thirsty for a moment. She jumps in and says, yeah, you're a squatter. You're squatting. You're squatting. I said, Emily, oh, y'all really don't understand. You guys really do not understand. When it comes to Gina and Emily, I cannot stand them. And I'm so pissed that Bravo brought them back. They should have both been fired. Y'all don't understand. If I were on this show, I would be wearing Emily and Gina out every chance I got. There would be no rest for either one of them. The minute they said one thing to me, it would be, I'm whacking you again and again and again. Don't speak to me.
And you're gonna always get it again and again and again.
Heather was appalled. She says, oh my gosh, let's not use that word, please. And you know it's a sad day when Tamra has to jump in to defend somebody, because Tamra does not defend anybody. She's always stirring the pot. So the fact that she tried to come to Jen's rescue to defend her, I said, wow, that's how you know that Gina and Emily are doing too much. So Tamra says, look, I understand where Jenn is coming from, because she got married to Will very young and he took care of her for a long time, so I understand it. So Jenn says exactly that. Then she goes on to say how she's learning because she didn't have access to anything when she was married. And we also find out in her confessional that she has never had a credit card in her own name. I was like, girl, what? You're in your 40s and you've never had your own credit card? Like, Miss Mamas, what's going on? Were you even an authorized user on your parents' cards? Like, tell me you have that at least, but you've never had your own credit card? Like, what? Like, I was completely floored. And once again, can somebody refresh my memory? What did Jenn do to Emily? Because the way Emily keeps coming after Jenn is really weird. Because at one point, Emily says, well, you could do things legally to get access. And even Jenn clocked her attitude. She said, Emily, why are you being so judgy right now? And I want to understand that too. Emily, why do you hate Jenn so bad? It's just not adding up. So now Jenn goes on to say how she was freaking out and how bad she's been feeling. Then she goes on to say that she hates that her car isn't being paid. And now Tamra's like, was it repossessed? And Jenn says, no, it wasn't. I just got rid of it. And now we see a clip from a few days ago where Jenn and Ryan were talking about her car situation. And Ryan tells her to get rid of the car. He'll give her his car and he'll go and buy a new car for himself. Now, in my humble opinion, I still feel like if Ryan really had it like that, he would just give Jenn the money to pay off all the back rent and to pay her car note. So now you have Emily browbeating her about that. She's like, oh, so Ryan absorbed your car debt? And Jen's like, basically, pretty much. So now Gina tells Jenn that she needs to make some changes so that she can be in the driver's seat of her own life. And I said, that's all nice and well, Gina, but nobody wants to hear a pep talk from you, so just keep it. So now you have Emily asking, so what if Ryan gets angry? And Jenn does voice her anxiety about that. She says, if we were to break up, I'd be homeless with no car. Now, Jenn, I am a bit confused about that because you do depend on your parents for help too, so you wouldn't be homeless, right? Your parents would take care of you if you and Ryan did break up. I'd have to assume that. Your mom and your dad in the last episode said that they would dig ditches for you, that they will always take care of you. So I'm like, girl, if you and Ryan break up, you can always go back home. You and the kids, right? So now you have Gina softening up and she says, Jenn, I never thought that you were a bad person. It's just that I'm going through my own stuff with me and Travis. Travis is moving out. So they're all shocked. They're like, wait, what? Travis is moving out? Like, when did this happen? So Gina's like, yeah, because we can't afford a house that we need because we have all these kids and he has to go. So she goes on to say how she's moving up financially and now because she finally has extra money, she wants to go on vacations and do stuff. And it's like, well, I don't really want to pay for all 6 kids. I have money for me and my 3. I don't really have it for his 3 and Travis. And then she says she doesn't want resentment to build. Now, I'm going to say this. It might be controversial. We're going to talk more about this at the end of the episode when Travis does move out. But I touched on this when I talked to my girl, Taria, from the What Else Is Going On podcast. Check her out here on YouTube and check out our collab together. We did it last week. It was a good time. But in the conversation, I made mention of I'm all in favor of Gina having Travis move out. Because one, I don't really believe in a man moving into your space. The man should have the house for you, in my humble opinion. I know everybody's different, God bless, but for me, I would not want to move a man into my space. I would need him to have the home and I move in. Anyhow, I was always against Travis and his 3 kids moving in with Gina. I never thought that that made sense. I always got the impression that Travis wanted a roommate situation to help alleviate the bills. That's what it gave to me. And again, we'll talk more about that because I have a lot more to say about that last scene. But yeah, I'm all in favor of Gina saying, get your stuff and get out. I'm here for it. And let's not act like men don't do this all the time. Men leave women who they struggled with all the time. So I feel no ways about, oh, well, Gina finally got up and now she wants to leave him, as she should. Because men do it all the time. They had a woman who put them through school or, gave them money to pay the bills. And then when they finally get a promotion, they finally get on. Now they want to leave the woman who helped them because they feel like you remind them of the struggle. And they feel like, okay, well, thank you for your services, but now I can get the woman that I actually want. So, I don't mean to get all deep into this thing, but yeah. Another reason why I'm not in favor of building men up, helping men up, giving men money, that should be an automatic no.
No.
And feel free to tussle with me in the comments. I'm ready for you. But anyhow, Gina gives a weak apology for her poor behavior towards Jenn and blames it on all the stress that she's going through with this whole Travis situation. I would have let you know that this apology holds no weight and do not ever speak to me again because you don't have the right to sit up there and embarrass somebody. And now because you feel bad, you want to give a weak apology? I don't think so. I understand that Gina is upset. And yes, Jenn should have called Gina and said, hey girl, I'm going through it right now. I'm sorry. I had no idea, but work with me. She could have done a better job with communication. I will give Gina that. But Gina, the way you have gone about this is disgusting. So at this point, before everybody leaves, we see Emily stand up to give everybody trophies. And she gets to Jenn and she says, here, Jenn, here's the I tried trophy. And we see Emily throwing even more shade in her confessional. And she says, Jenn tried to play. Jenn tried to pay her Range Rover. Jenn tried to pay her rent and she failed. But at least you tried. And I said, now, Emily, when the girls read you down, I don't want to see any tears because Emily loves to tear somebody down, but the minute somebody gives it back to her, she's crying and talking about, oh my gosh, why'd you say that? And you know that I'm insecure and X, Y, Z. No, I hope that whoever reads you this season reads you all the way down. Again, I want to know, what did Jenn do to you for you to be going so hard at her? You would think Jenn owed Emily the rent the way Emily is carrying on. I'm like, oh my gosh, are you not tired? Let me be so honest with you. This next scene involving Emily and her sexy boudoir photo shoot, I don't care. I don't have anything for Emily. That's just the God's honest truth. I'm not going to sit here and act like I cared about this scene because I didn't. And if Emily thinks that her going to the gym every day is about to be a storyline, think again because I'm not interested. I feel like Emily has been grasping at straws for a long time now to give us a storyline. Her storyline ended maybe 3 seasons ago. That was the last time I was mildly interested. The only interesting part of this scene was Shannon. Shannon being there and hyping her up, and then Shannon sharing all the drama about John and Alexis regarding her gym. But Shannon goes on to tell Emily about how her friend Alex called her up right after flag football and how he told Shannon that he received word that the conversation between Gina and Alexis got back to him, and how Alexis has only been at the gym twice. So Shannon goes on to say how Alex told Alexis that he doesn't want any drama at the gym, and Alexis told him that she's a good Christian girl, and he said back to her, well, are you sure about that? Because good Christian girls don't talk about their sex lives 24/7. So because Alex said that, John got angry, cursed them all out, F all of y'all, we'll never come back to this gym, and how Shannon is the one behind all this drama. And of course, Shannon denies it. And now we flip to a parallel scene with Jenn, Tamra, and Alexis all going out to walk their dogs. Now, can we please talk about how Alexis is a weirdo and a copycat? Because why does she have the same exact dog that Shannon has? Even Tamra and Jenn noticed that. They said, wait, is that Archie? And she's like, oh no, I adopted him. And they were both like, girl, it's kind of weird. First you steal her man, then you steal her dog. Like, it's a bit bizarre. And like Emily said to Shannon, it's giving single white female, and it is. But anyhow, as they're walking their dogs, they're talking about the drama that went down between Gina and Jenn. Jen's relaying the whole story because remember, Alexis left the event early, so she missed the argument between Gina and Jenn. So Jen's like, pretty much, she called me a squatter, said you don't pay your bills, and Jen's like, look, obviously I want to pay my bills, I just can't right now. So we see Tamra trying to give Jenn some advice. She says, Jenn, I love you, but I don't want you to end up in the same situation because you're living with Ryan, and if things go south, I do worry about you and where you'll be. Then she adds that Jen's yoga studio isn't making any money, and Jenn even cops to it. She says that her and the owners don't pay themselves, and she does worry that the business might fail. I feel so bad for Jenn. I really hope that her business picks up. I feel like her being on the show should attract more customers because we know that people love the Real Housewives. So I am surprised that she's not getting more clients because she's on the show. So now we see them bring up the whole drama about Shannon and this gym. So Alexis says, me and John are never going back there. Then she adds that Shannon is behind all of this because how else would the part owner know that she was talking about sex at Heather's luncheon? So now Alexis starts talking about how she's known Tamra longer than Shannon has. And I said, Alexis, that might be true, but let's not forget that Tamra hated you. So for you to say, well, I've known Tamra longer, I mean, okay, but you and Tamra did not get along. So does it really matter? So now we end the scene with Alexis saying that Shannon better redeem her man's name because John is not going to stay silent for long. And I said, Alexis, nobody's afraid of you or John. We're laughing at you both. And if you think that Shannon is going to redeem anything, even if she did, we're still not going to view John in a good light. We've watched John for the last 3 years with Shannon. So now we jump to the next scene and we see Gina, unfortunately. Like I said, there was too much Gina in this episode. But Gina, Katie, and Sutton Strack from the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills are meeting up for lunch. Now, when I tell you, when Sutton Strack came out of that car, I said, come through, Miss Mamas. If you watch my Beverly Hills recaps, you know that I love Sutton. So to see her grace our screens in Orange County, I was living. So Gina lets us know that she met Katie through Sutton. She says that because Katie was moving and since she's a realtor, Sutton connected the both of them. Now, may I say this, and I feel like you already know what I'm going to say, but when the trailer first dropped for Orange County, and I saw that quick clip of Sutton having lunch with Gina, I said, wait, what? My girl Sutton is friends with Gina? What alternate universe am I living in? So now Gina goes on to add that she knows Sutton because Sutton's ex-husband Christian is the president of the mutual fund company that her ex-husband Matt used to work at. So she goes on to say that obviously Sutton did way better in her divorce than she did. And I said, yeah, girl, we know. Sutton walked away with 300 grand a month in alimony, several baseball teams, several companies, child support, multiple homes around the world, and you got left with a new boyfriend who lives off of you. So yeah, I would definitely say that Sutton fared a whole lot better. And I have to say, I love seeing Sutton so relaxed because I feel like on Beverly Hills, she's usually super tense, but I guess you would be too, knowing that you have to be on a show where you have to fight with your friends. So that is a bit stressful. So I guess since she doesn't have that heavy burden of having to fight with anybody in this scene, she can be relaxed. But anyhow, Sutton is telling Gina how her and Katie met, and she goes on to explain how since Katie's husband is in golf, her business partner said, hey, you need to meet this girl. So now Katie recalls how her and Sutton first met, and she reveals that it was a bit tense between her and Sutton at first. There was a miscommunication. Sutton called her dim, and she called Sutton out and said, what the F are you talking about? So she says because of that, Sutton respected her and liked the fact that she stood up for herself. So Katie continues on by saying that she likes how Sutton is really blunt and she just speaks her mind and she appreciates that. And one thing about Sutton, she is very blunt. While I like Sutton now, when Sutton first joined that show, it was a bit rough because I was not feeling her. I thought that Sutton was rude. I said, oh no. But the way she turned it around for me, and I really have grown to enjoy her, I appreciate her and her antics. But when she first came on, I was like, oh no, who is this? So Sutton's talking about how she used to live in OC in 2008 and she loved it. She met a lot of great people, made a lot of great friends. And then she encourages Katie that she'll also do the same too. So now she goes on to ask Katie, has she met Heather yet? So Katie says, yes, I've met Heather. And the way she said it, you already know that she doesn't have the best impression of Heather. Now I said, Miss Katie, tread lightly because Miss Heather Dubrow is also my girl too. I don't play about her. So be real careful about what you're about to say. So Katie says, well, you know, Sutton, I first met her at your Christmas party last year and Gina was talking to her. And when she turned around, she looked me up and down, just stared at me, and didn't even say hello. And now Katie brings up the second incident that pissed her off. She follows Heather on Instagram, and this one particular day, Heather posted a picture, and Katie thought that she looked so pretty. So I guess Katie commented on the picture, and Heather tagged Katie in the picture. So she thought that was kind of weird. Now again, I was confused about that. I said, wait, what? I mean, I don't know if that's anything to be upset about, but okay. So Sutton's like, look, girl, I love you and all, but I would not go up against Heather Dubrow. Like, you will not win that fight. Like, just make nice and have some fun. And I said, now, Miss Katie, I don't mean to discount your experiences, but I really feel like you're grasping at straws, and it seems like you want an issue with Heather. And I watched a recent interview with Heather. It was, I think, with Extra or Entertainment Tonight, and she pretty much says that she thinks that you came on this show with an agenda to dislike her and take her down. And she kept saying that you've been saying on social media how much you hate her. And she's like, I don't understand where all this hate is coming from because I really don't have any beef with you. Like, I'm cool with you. I wanted to like you. But she honestly feels like Katie came on this show with an agenda to purposely go after Heather, and Heather is not here for it. This next scene with Emily at home, we're skipping right past it. Don't care. Emily is grasping at straws for a storyline, and I'm not going to entertain her. We get to the last scene of the episode, and unfortunately, it's Gina. So Gina's at home and she's watching Travis pack his bags to move out of the house. Gina said, get your shit and get out. I couldn't help myself, I had to. Oh my gosh, when I tell y'all I have such a good time reviewing Orange County, I mean, the laughs, Orange County, don't change. Well, you know what, actually change it up and fire Emily and Gina, please. But other than that, keep the formula. So as Travis is packing his bags, Gina's asking him all these stupid questions. She's like, how are you feeling about everything? Travis is irritated. And I mean, are you surprised? He's mooching off of Gina and he's upset that he has to leave. His meal ticket has kicked him out, so obviously he's not going to be so thrilled about it. But Travis says that he feels overwhelmed, and I said again, I'm sure you do, because now you don't have Gina to pay the household bills. So Travis goes on to say that this goes from them being a family unit to them just dating now. And I said, it should have been like that in the first place. Gina should not have moved this man and his kids into her home anyway. So now you have Gina still bothering this man. She's like, what if I made a mistake? And Travis says, girl, what? Like, you're talking about this now as I'm packing my bags up to go? So now Gina says in her confessional that this is all about moving away from Travis's past, how his ex is making everything so hard for him, and she has to be selfish right now and choose herself and her kids. And I said, now, Gina, I'm going to give you 1 point for that because you should put you and your kids first. I agree with it. I'm actually with you on this one. So now you have Travis snapping at Gina and he's like, it seems like all you're focusing on is the decision that you made. So he's trying to guilt trip her. And I said, sir, take that bass out of your voice and pack your bags and go, please. And Gina made a valid point when she said, this makes sense, Travis, because since we can't afford a home the size that we need for 6 children, you moving out is the best thing. Travis, why are you forgetting that the kids are about to be teenagers? So they need their own space. They need their own rooms. It does not make sense for 6 teenagers to be sharing a room. How big is a townhouse? Is it 2 bedrooms or 3 bedrooms? But either way, they need space. But Travis was really doing the most because he kept snapping at Gina. He was like, stop talking about it's for the children. It's not about the children. It's a decision that you made. I said, again, who are you talking to? Also, Travis, between the issues with your ex and from what Gina was saying in the first episode, it seems like Travis and the ex still aren't divorced. So she's living with a man who is still not fully divorced and his ex is causing all these problems. He doesn't seem to have money. So I'm just like, Gina is doing the right thing for choosing herself. And I also hated how he tried to guilt trip her even more, saying that the kids would prefer to be here together and not separated. I said, again, Travis, all these tactics are not going to work over here. Please go. I don't like that, trying to guilt trip her using the kids. But now we see Travis all packed up. Gina walks him to his car and he drives off. And that's where the episode ends. Gina, I'll give you 2 points because I feel like this is a great idea. I think that you and your kids need the space. And Travis, if he wants to be together and make this work, he needs to step it up. Period. End of story. I think that you're doing the right thing. But how you treated Jen was deplorable. And I was sick to my stomach because nobody deserves to be embarrassed like that. And I really hope and pray that that's your last time showing your behind like that, especially when it comes to Jen. But something tells me that we're going to see you up to the same nonsense throughout this season. But y'all, when I tell you that OC is that girl, this episode gave me everything I needed. I am really enjoying OC. We are in for such an amazing season, and the way I cannot wait to watch it all unfold. But y'all, that was my recap. Thank you all so much for watching. For all my podcast listeners, thank you all so much for listening. And you already know what to do. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you all later. Bye.